resource people for our
yeah, okay.
contact.
Okay. Nice to see you. Yeah, thank you.
Athos, I think your audio is getting interrupted. Do you have a correct coverage? Your coverage is okay?
Yeah, I have a good network here.
Fine.
Yeah, is it clear now, sir?
Yes, it is fine.
Yeah.
Clear. Others, we just wait for another 5 more minutes so that the participant can get logged in. After that, we can go for the session. That was I had informed to Mr. Vinoj recently. Thirumalan sir, you can unmute others as well. While the session starts, you can unmute Wilfred so that he can. For some time, he can be hassle-free.
So, what I would request, can I share the presentation from my end, or what is that you're doing, Dr. Thirumalan? So,
hello, sir.
yeah.
If you want to share, no problem. I will give a permission.
I think I have the share option. Then I will share it from here.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Arun sir, shall we start? Right?
Just a second, sir. You can wait for a couple of minutes, please.
Okay.
Dr. Thirumalan, one small request is if we could record this session, same like last time, so it will be useful.
Okay, sir.
For future
Sure.
references and all.
Definitely. Recording will start right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thing is going.
Yeah, okay.
Arun sir. Arun sir.
Mr. Vinod. Thirumalan, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Shall we start?
Sir.
It's about 70% of audience were already logged in, so that it could be okay. Mr. Vinod, are you ready? Shall we start?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Fine, Vinod. Fine.
Sir,
sir.
Arun sir, this is Annai.
Okay, sir. Good morning, everyone. I invite Mr. Adarsh Mittal to welcome address. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. This is Adarsh Mittal, Assistant Professor from the Department of Management Studies, Annai College of Arts and Science. I welcome you all for this session on specialization towards aviation industry. The effects of impacts of COVID-19 on the aviation industry. We have our specialist, Mr. Vinod Wilfred. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of the institution. We are very grateful that you are able to spend your quality time with us in this busy schedule, especially when the industry is going through some turbulence. I'm sure you would be facing a lot of heat from the industry. Beyond that, for you to spend your time with faculty and students in the community, we are very grateful to you. Welcome you aboard for the session today. Next on, I would like to welcome our Director of Annai Group of Institutions, the Principal from Annai College of Arts and Science, Dr. Manike Vasagi, and all my beloved participants from the teacher community as well as the student community. I welcome you all. I'm very happy to see most of the participants online already. I hope this enthusiasm is kept alive all through this session, and we give the best time possible to our chief guest as much as possible. So probably by the end of the session, once our chief guest concludes his session, I hope everyone will be grateful enough to actually post some quality questions to him so that everyone can benefit at the same time. I am sure the time is of precious here. So without much ado, I'd like to hand over the session back to our host, Dr. Thirumalan sir, and I request once again, Vinod Wilfred sir to spend some good time with us. So please, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I hand over the session to our chief guest, Mr. Vinod Wilfred.
Thank you.
Now you can share your PPT, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'll share my screen.
Sir, your voice is not audible.
Okay. Can I? Is it?
Sir, your voice is not audible.
My voice is audible now. And can
Sir, still your voice is breaking.
my screen? Not audible. Okay. Just.
Sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, audible.
Okay. So can you see my screen? Okay. And can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. It's shown.
Sorry for the interruption.
Okay.
Vinod still is getting breaking.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah. The voice is breaking?
Okay, fine, Vinod. You can proceed now. It is okay now.
Yeah, okay. So let me know if there is some interruption which is coming up. So I want this audio quality to be good so that people who are looking on the other side will be interested at least. So with that, good morning, everyone. Today, we are going to talk about an overview of the operational elements in the aviation industry, but we will only look at a high-level view on how it is impacting our day-to-day operations. So the agenda for today will be the overview of airline industry for the people who are not aware of this industry. So that I'll give a brief introduction about what this industry is. Then I will briefly touch about the airline value chain. Then the brief introduction about the business goals and the kind of product that we are offering. And some of the elements we can say is critical to customer or critical to business elements, and further other operational elements further drilling down, and couple of in-flight services, and finally we'll touch upon the customer experience. And the end of the session we will have a quick question and answer session which we can address whatever the queries what we have from participants. So with this, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Vinod Wilfred. I've been working since last 15 years, and in the sense I've been working with leading airlines in India and maintenance, repair, and overall agencies, and in fact regulatory authorities as well. So in this last 15 years of experience, I've been the part of core airline startups. Then I've been part of aircraft leasing management and directly involved in a lot of inductions of aircraft within India, and also part of developing frameworks, regulatory frameworks for this industry. And again, I have a core competency on this audit and compliance management, then setting up engineering processes, backup processes for the airline engineering management. Then in addition to that, I did have some of the experience on continuous improvement program. It's something related to the Six Sigma and Lean Six Sigma program, where improvement programs have been sought in the management. And in addition to that, I've been a part of developing business. And I did industries on operations management and strategic management. So with that, I think we'll go to the session, and I'll start with the basic about industry overview. So if you look into this airline business, so it's a 100-year-old business, and we can track back to 1903 when the first aircraft was invented, and in the 1912 when the first commercial aircraft was flown. So since then, it's about 100 years now, the entire industry, the world has been transformed because of a couple of reasons, saying that it has given rapid connections, and it has enhanced the globalization part, and it has shaped today's modern businesses. In fact, it has connected the world trade. And when we say that when we world trade, the world, 1/3 of the by value is been transported through aircraft, or by airline air transports. So and finally, it is a great contributor to the economic growth. So this is about a brief introduction. When we further, if you talk about it, so there in the last 100 years, the last 40 years was in a remarkable growth. Recently, since 1970, 1980 period, the entire fare and other control was being managed by the governments. So this was the area when it got deregulated, and it has given a fair market play. It has come to the lot of private entrants has come into the business. The business has evolved in a different way. Rather than being controlled by government, the private sector has grown up, and that has actually put some reduction in fare, and it has given enormous market growth in the last 40 years. And if you see the cost, actually the value or something what you pay for this air transport is reduced by half when we look at maybe 40 years back. So, and with this growth, currently we are connecting about the world aviation industry is connecting about 20,000 city pairs all over the world. And I think this is a remarkable growth, and we are growing every 15 years. We are growing twice the volume of what we have. So this is the growth in an overview. And so when we look into the business, we have a couple of business models. Basically, we operate. There are low-cost carriers, there are full-service carriers, there are ultra-low-cost carriers, So there are hybrid carriers, but for this sake of this presentation, just to understand, I will put in a brief about two different business models what we have. One is about the low-cost carrier and one is about full-service carrier. And I will just give a brief introduction about what actually, how does it differ basically. So basically the first thing, the primary element is the network structure, the network, the way the airline networks are connected. So one is the point-to-point. Low-cost carrier opts to have a point-to-point carrier network, and when compared to the full-service carrier, they look at hub and spoke and they look at a linear model. So there is actually a cost difference between when we deploy this model. There is a cost. There is the economics of cost actually within this. So when we look at a point-to-point, we operate from a place. The ticket is sold from, let's say, Chennai to Delhi is 1 point. So that is but when you come to a linear point, the ticket can be sold from Chennai to Chandigarh, but aircraft can land in Delhi and it can go to Chandigarh. So that becomes a linear route. So you can have multiple stop points and you can finally give a destination ticket or on-way destination ticket. You can give that. So that becomes a linear model. So what happens is an aircraft stops in a place and that becomes an additional cost for handling the aircraft with a particular station, and which is actually indirect cost is coming to the airline. So that actually have a disadvantages when comparing to the point-to-point system. And hub and spoke is something like that. You can have let's say Chennai is a hub and you can have 4 different airports around Chennai which is operating to Chennai, and 4 different aircrafts. And at the same time, all the passengers will get changed to a different within that hub, get interchanged to the different aircrafts and travel to their own destinations. So a person can book a ticket from Madurai to Hyderabad, but he will land in Chennai, he will get on at Chennai and he will change the aircraft. It's the same carrier, he will go to Hyderabad. So that becomes a hub and spoke. One of the advantages here is a person coming from Mumbai, Madurai can connect to any of these 4 destinations from Chennai. So that is one of the advantages, where point to point this does not have. But again, this point to point have its own in this passenger growth and all, it has its own value, and because it should have its own volume to operate from one city to another city. So that's about the network model. And second thing is the type of fleet which you operate. One is about, let's say, an aircraft which we operate will have 320 Airbus A320 is one of the model, and low-cost carrier will keep all this aircraft in the same model. But when you go to Air India is a different model altogether. So they will have A330, they will have A320, they will have 390s, they will have ATR, different models which we can operate. So they have a different, there's a complex fleet and there's a single fleet. So the advantage and disadvantage here is managing the fleet will have a cost. So low-cost carrier will have this cost advantage when compared to this full-service carrier in terms of this fleet management. Third thing is about the density. You can say the economics of scale and economics of density. So what happens is, if you're taking a low-cost carrier like Indigo or AirAsia, so they have all this highly dense seats. You can say about 180 seats to 190 seats in the fleet or in an aircraft. But when we go to Air India, it will have only about 150 or 160 seats. So this additional 30 is what adding up to the density, and which will give them an additional cost advantage when doing operating the airline. So, and the fourth thing is about the utilization part. So let's say an aircraft can fly about 24 hours in a day. An aircraft can fly about 14-15 hours or in a day. You can say there's a maximum utilization. An aircraft can fly about, if you are utilizing it properly, it should fly between 11 to 15 hours of utilization. So the more we utilize it, the more we can fly. The more destination we can cover, the more we can produce. So this utilization is another part which low-cost carriers, they have a quick turnaround time. Let's say if you're landing in an airport, it will turn around within 30 minutes time and it will go back to the next destination. So the aircraft on ground time is reduced by this high utilization. So, and in case of high full service carrier, they have a lot of other activities which has to be done on an aircraft, which will take an additional time of, let's say, 10, 15, 20 minutes to make a turnaround. So what happens is, when we are scaling it up in an year time, for 35 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes of turnaround time and scaling it up, there will be a huge difference of the aircraft utilization when we look at this particular utilization. So with this, what we understand is there is a meaningful cost difference between these two careers, and that actually giving a cost advantage to the low-cost career. And if you see the current business model, most of the aircraft airlines in India, which is about 70%, is about low-cost carriers they operating. So I'll just briefly talk about the value chain. So when we talk about value chain, so let's say we can start from the manufacturer place itself. We can the person who produces or the entity who produces the aircraft. So I'll put this into three different categories. First, one person who is creating an airframe, and person who is creating an engine, and who is creating components. So I'll put it this way. So airframe component is something like that. Airbus A320 is an airplane model which has been produced by Airbus. He is a manufacturer. Airbus is a manufacturer. Or Boeing 737 is an aircraft model which has been produced by the Boeing company. So what happens is the engine fitted to it will be produced by a different person. It can be from Rolls-Royce, it can be from Pratt & Whitney. So or it can be from CFM. There are different manufacturers who produces the engine alone. So and components. Let's say there are thousands or lakhs of components which is fitted on an engine or fitted on an engine and aircraft. And each of these components could be produced by a different manufacturer. And so you can say as Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 kind of production companies, and finally it has been put together and it has come with the name of airframe manufacturers, Airbus or Boeing, or you can say Embraer. There are different models which we have. And once this product is produced, it has to be operated. So airlines can directly buy it, or it can be bought through the lessors. So lessors are a person who will actually take this aircraft, they'll take a loan or whatever. Their business is to procure an aircraft and lease it out to an airline for this and getting their rental revenues. This is what the business model what lessors have. So we are seeing manufacturers, we are seeing lessors. And third thing is infrastructures. So when we talk about infrastructures, the first thing what you can see is airport is an infrastructure. So the moment the passenger comes into the passenger terminal, then your boarding areas, the entire airport, the operating areas, entire things are airport infrastructure. So there are infrastructure providers who help it. Then second thing is air navigation service providers. So the main role of these people is basically, you can say as air transport management, they are aeronautical information service providers, they are communication, navigation, surveillance providers. So what happens is the moment you leave this airport or within that airport, there is aircraft which is flying. So this communication is happening through an infrastructure which we have. So through a satellite communication or through ACAS or data link communication, whatever communication which you take, there is an infrastructure requirement for this particular activity to be enabled. So this is another part of value chain. So when it comes to the service providers, there are insurance providers who provide insurance to aircraft, passengers and all. And there are ground support providers who will, let's say the aircraft, the moment you are going for a departure, you will step out from the airport into the airport area. From the terminal, there will be a bus flying in who will be taking you to the aircraft for the boarding area and who will be boarding you. There are some ground support providers who will actually provide this ground support within that airport vicinity. And the second thing is aircraft has to be towed and pushback operations has to be done. That is done through this infrastructure, this service provider. And there is an MRO. MRO is maintenance, repair and overall agency. Basically, this equipment is having they have to have whatever some of the maintenance. So similar way what we have for garage maintenance and all, this MRO is similar to kind of garages. So what happens is there are some required maintenance from the prescribed to the manufacturer. This has to be done in a given point of time. So this MRO providers will do the maintenance for their specialist service maintenance, and they will do this maintenance. And the other thing is catering. The in-flight, so the moment you go on in-flight, you will look for a meal or food. So these are the catering service providers. And in addition to that, the moment aircraft has produced some of the seats, it has to be distributed. It has to be sold. So there are distribution agencies, you can say as a global distribution system. So some of things agencies which do buses, Amadeus, Saber. So these are the distribution agencies which they distribute across the world. The seats what we have or the inventory what we have is distributed through this EDS agencies, or it can be distributed online also through online travel agencies, or we can do it directly. So why we need, there is an advantage of GTS over our this thing is that GTS you can have a worldwide presence. Anywhere around the world you will be connected to all the agencies, small agencies, all the people who are looking for a travel, you will get connected. So that is one of the advantage of this GDS distribution system. And there are in fact tour operators and other things. And in other side, if you look into the cargo, there are other freight forwarders. So these are the people who are connecting the shipments across the world. The leading agency, you can say FedEx, UPS, we might have heard about it, DHL and all. So this is about the complete value chain. It's a sub-industries of all the industries what we have. So it's a cluster of the industries which we have around and which we share the business interests. And okay, now let's look into something from a customer point of view. So the first thing I want to talk is, let's say if a person wants to travel, so he needs to make a decision to travel. A person who will search for a travel and he will have to make a decision. He wants to purchase a ticket. So there are a couple of elements what determines what a person is actually when he buys a ticket. So I should put it in three different categories. This particular decision factors. One is I'll put into the route characteristics. Second thing is about the social economic characteristics, and third thing is the journey characteristics. So I will briefly talk about what this route characteristics basically. So first thing is the price. The price which we quoting for that route is one of the important factors. Second thing is the time of departure and arrival. And the time of departure and arrival will play a very different role in gender also, because ladies do not prefer to travel in the night and gents will prefer to travel in the morning. So this kind of different, so this will create a different opinion or different purchase decisions among different people. And the third thing is number of connection and waiting times. Let's say you are going to opted to go for a airline which is already having non-stop or which is having a connected flight. So this number of connections and this kind of elements will play a bigger role. And the flight time, I mean the duration of the flight. And other thing is you look at the size and size of the aircraft also sometimes it plays an important role. Some people for a same route, let's say here from Chennai to I can say Trivandrum, there are two types of flights which operates. One is you can say the bigger narrow body aircraft which with 180 seats, they operates within 1 hour, 5 minutes. And there are other ATR aircraft which or flies on a low altitude which operates in 1 hour 35 minutes. So there is a different experience on these two aircraft. So people who are aware of this aircraft, they will definitely look for a better aircraft. So, and there are some of the characteristics which the company actually, how the airline look at. This is something which on a route side. And when it comes to socio-economic characteristics, you can say it is about income of a person. And because when we talk about income, this air travel is directly linked to the GDP. And GDP growth, your disposable income is also growth. So the person who is the price which you have been paying for this ticket is actually from the disposable income. So this income and your disposable income and GDP has a very good role to play in this airline growth. And second thing is your age and your gender preferences, as I said. And one more thing, there is something called a frequent flight program and loyalty membership programs. So if you are a loyal member to some of the airline and you have that card or something easy, so always try to, your first opinion will be going and looking at the airline which actually you are a loyal member. So what happens is you can get frequent flyer points which is accumulated, and you can be used for the future purchase and all. So this is another factor which impacts that purchase decision. And third thing is your journey characteristics. It can be broadly put in whether you're going for a business or you're going for a vacation. And second thing is whether you're going for a domestic or international travel. Or third thing we can look at is whether it's a departure or arrival airport time zones. Let's say you're flying an international destination, and if you're landing there, you may not be comfortable in landing, or there are different. Some people prefer to land at early morning. Some people prefer to land in the night, and so this kind of thing. So there are different things which a passenger looks at when he flight. So if you put all those things, generally people like to have a direct flight. They will always like to have a good takeoff timing and landing time. We just have a proper takeoff and landing timing, and they always look to have a safe flight. And finally, they always look at the reputation of the airline, whether it's an outstanding airline, whether airline operates on time, whether it's reputable, and how the passenger experience and all things will come in. So it's on a passenger side. When we come on airline side, there are two things which you have to look at. One is revenue and profit. These are the major pillars which an airline has to drive, because anything that we do, it's a cost, and there we'll have to make profit and we'll have to make revenue out of it. So if we look in this thing, how this airline has, what airline can offer and how it can get this revenue and profit is what the complete strategy and the complete business operations is about. So since we talked about this particular factors of decision here, in general, airline has categorized the customer segment into three basically. One is whether you are a business traveler and you are a leisure traveler, or you are traveling to visit your friends and relatives. So if we try to put them into a normal curve, what we try to see is about 40% you can come about leisure traveler, and 30% will come out the business traveler. But what happens is, this business travelers, the profit or revenue what we get from the business travelers is higher. It's about 75%. Reason being the willingness to pay. So this is one of the places which airlines has different kind of fares, different kind of offerings to the business passengers, so that they can attract this passengers to the flights. So, and again, if you are looking at the behavior of this segment, if you are categorizing into three different areas: price sensitiveness and schedule sensitiveness, and you can say as purchase decision anticipation. So why I have to talk about price sensitiveness? Because India is a price sensitive market, because we always look for a low cost flights. So when we are putting this business traveler, leisure traveler, and visiting friends and relatives, this three travelers into three different things. So leisure traveler is always sensitive to the price. Always they are high sensitive to price, and business travelers are always sensitive to the schedule. They want timings, because they will be going for a business meeting and they want. So all these things are there. So but when caps happens to a leisure traveler, they are elastic on their timings and all, but they are not elastic on price. So when it comes to the visiting friends and relatives, again they are sensitive to price, but they are moderate to the sensitiveness to the schedule. And when you look at the purchase decision anticipation, so this leisure travel is quite big and other people are quite small, and the VFR again, their anticipation is quite big. So to fulfill them is quite a difficult thing. So the business, what we produce, basically we produce, we offer seat. It's not produce, it's a service industry, and we offer seat. So what we offer is, can say seats are offered to the flight, and the unit to measure that is available seat kilometer. So let's say we are operating a flight and these are 100 seats, and you are operating for 1,000 kilometers. This 100 seats into 1,000 kilometers will give you about available seat kilometer for that particular flight. So this is how it is been measured, and for entire network, total produced is been measured. So again, this available seat kilometers in unit of production, and the moment utilization goes up, this available seat kilometers goes up. And with the same aircraft, we are flying for 11 hours and 15 hours. 15 hours will have a higher available seat kilometer. I mean, you can say it's a high productive aircraft, and let's say so 11 hours, it's comparatively it's a low productive aircraft, because available seat kilometers what we produce out of that aircraft is less. And what we produce is distributed through a global distribution system and through a sales and distribution systems, through the sales channels and all. And finally, what we have, the revenue channels, what we have is basically seats what we offer, cargo what we offer, and there are ancillary revenues. This is about totally what we offer into them. And the revenue what we get is measured in terms of revenue per available seat kilometers, in terms of what we get from the seats. So what happens is, to have a profitable airline, to have a EBIT positive, we should have always RASK higher than the cost. I mean, revenue per available seat kilometer should be higher than the cost per available seat kilometer. And that is the equation which is basically governing this industry. So I tried to put in this product offerings of this airline into three different areas. But I think this is a concept which normally marketing people use to differentiate what they offer as a product, core services or argument services, or you can say as expected services, or in So this kind of things when you talk about, first things when you talk about is the core services. Core services, what we shown is you to have a reliable aircraft to fly on time, scheduled, and if you are safe to fly. That is very core for any of the business passengers and even for the businesses. The second thing is the expected services. People, the moment coming to that aircraft, they'll always like to have a better seat, seat which is having a very good seat comfort, and they like to have food and drinks. So, and then they like to have a good cabin, and they like to have baggage services. These are all expected services from an airline. And third thing, when you put in augmented services, you can say as even pre-flight meals, lounge entertainment. There are other things we can look at. There are a lot of things we can say. As a passenger, you need a pickup and drop from airport or something. This all can be put in as an augmented services. But it depends upon your needs and wants and willingness to pay. These all things will be changing. So just the key takeaways here is this particular the product what we have will change depends upon the passenger, whether you are a business traveler or you are a leisure traveler, and what you need and what you want. All this will and what you are willing to pay for. So all this will have a play on this thing. So putting all together from the previous slides and what we know about it, I try to put in what is very critical to business. Passenger will say, I need on-time performance. I need on-time flight. You need to be departed on time. They need to arrive on time. So yes, it's one of the metrics. But how do you business looks at it? It is about my dispatch reliability. How reliable my aircrafts are to dispatch. Whether I am 99% on time or 98% on time, and all these are the metrics what we look at. And again, this OTP metrics can be divided into different departments which you have. You can go for engineering for technical dispatch reliability. You can go to GH agents for their cargo loading and these things. You can go to security for their predetermined time standards. So all this will have, this is in further divided into different KPIs to achieve this on-time performance. So second thing is you need to always, since I said it's a price sensitive market, they always like to have a low phase. So low phase can be achieved by two ways. One is about operational cost has to be down, and second is you have to be efficient in what you are operating. So this is what when we convert to the business, voice of a customer and a voice of a business. So these two things we can differentiate it. So and third thing is the customer always like to have a delighting customer experience. So what organization look at is, yes, they need to have some kind of good certification in kind of customer experience. They should be an award-winning airline of this customer experience. So they'll always try to achieve this kind of milestones, and they will try to monitor. They'll publish it and they'll try to monetize it. And fourth thing is availability of ticket. So today most of the people have moved from the web interface to mobile interface. Let's say this airline has to offer the ticket anywhere without any hassle, with a hassle-free service to all the passengers who are looking at. So this is with the help of this distribution system and today's marketing or digital platforms. So this particular thing is what airline has to achieve. Airline has been achieving it. And next is safety to fly. So safety to fly is when passenger says I should be safe when I fly. From an airline point of view, it is you need to comply to the safety requirements. If you are adhering to the safety requirements, it means that I'm safe to fly. And next thing is time and duration of the flight. It is a flight schedule, how we are offering it, and reputed airline. It's a brand value and the outstanding record what I create, and so all these things will have a important thing to play in this. So when you look at the business point of view, we can take it as a management strategy. It should be a business plan, profit, sales, different ideas, different projects. So which market to operate, who is my customer, how will I innovate the products. So all this will come into play to achieve all those the operational elements what we have, or business strategical elements what we have. So as we discussed, there are two things I can put it up. One is about I need to maximize my profit, and second thing is I need to be operationally, my operational performance should be good or better to get this profit maximization, or I can say my profit maximization through operational performance. So you can put it that way as well. So there are two different goals, and in this session I will try to put it up what in these two different levers, what comes into the profit maximization and what comes to an operational performance. So when we talk about this particular profit maximization, I'll talk about the strategy horizon of, let's say, a 5-year strategy horizon, how it looks like. So I would put it in 4 different categories of long-term planning, mid-term planning, short-term planning, and day of execution. So I have categorized it in what comes in a day of execution, what comes in a long-term planning. First element which I take in the long-term planning is a commercial strategy. Commercial strategy has different pillars. Let's say revenue management is a pillar of commercial strategy, and marketing, distribution, all this part of the commercial strategy. And the network, then the way we build a network will have a very good effect on the profit maximization. And fleet plan is sometimes I need to procure some aircraft from some, let's say for next 5 years, the GDP is growing about, this is the GDP growth, and to match that market needs, I need to grow my fleet, or I need to grow my production to this level. I need to have some kind of fleet. So I need to buy some fleet. Either I will buy the same fleet, or I will bring different fleets, or some technologically improved fleet. All this will come in the fleet plan. And moreover, there will be some old fleet which is operating in the airline which has to be replaced. All the strategy will come in this fleet plan. So, and next thing is long-term MRO contracts. So this MRO contracts, if you're going one-by-one contract to someone, it may not be very good value. It does not give a very good value to maybe in the both sides. So, but if you're going for a long-term contract, if you're giving a long-term business, then you can have a very good thing on negotiation. So the unit price, what you spend on that MRO will be very less when compared to the piecemeal basis. So this has a very important role on that. Then you are phase in, phase out of the fleet, and the way the customer, you're targeting a customer and where you're putting up your product. And the most important thing, your vision and mission. The vision is a very good role in this business, and your corporate strategy. This all I will put it up into the long-term planning. So when you come to the mid-term planning, let's say we already have made some kind of network plan. I already developed some kind of strategic corporate commercial strategy. Now I need to plan my capacity, where I'm going to operate. So now, based on the GDP, I got a national view, but I need to drill down to the route level view, so that which route I can operate, where I can, how will my schedule look like, what timings people are preferring, and this time will come in a capacity planning and scheduling. So the next thing is slot filing. The moment you fix on your schedules, you need to find a slot in that airport. Let's say an airport, it goes on auction basis and all. When you go to an airport, the airport will have about 40 to 50 slots in an average in an hour. So it's a capacity that an aircraft can have. So it can only have about 30 aircrafts, or 103 minutes or 5 minutes on an airplane can land and take off. So based on their capacity, they will have some slots. That slot has to be taken first to operate into that place, because we operate a scheduled operation, something like that. We take 10 o'clock from here, land at 11 o'clock. So we should have both the slots and two different aircraft to land that place, and we have a departure slot here. So all this will come in the slot filing. And the next thing is your route planning is a part of it. Capacity planning and route planning is similar to that. So then your manpower. So you'll have to have a budget. You'll have to have anything what you're doing for the next 1 year or 2 years. You should have a clear budget. What is my spending? So then your marketing and branding will come in all. So put it that into, I'll put it in 1 to 12 years, 12 months time. So 1 year to 12 months. My slide is wrong. Actually, it should talk about 2 to 3 years to about 12 months time. I should be able to fix this issues. So third thing is about short-term planning. So this short-term planning comes as, I should say it's within a month time, or within the 3 days to 1 month time. And the main thing is your tail assignment. You should so let's say there's a timetable which is fixed. When we talk about a scheduled airline, an airline, let's say you have a 10 aircraft and you have different routes to operate, and you have different time schedules, or we can say as timetables. So all this flights needs to be matched to one of the aircraft. Which aircraft is going to operate which route, on which time. So all this is tail assignment. So then there is another thing called as crew pairing, and so crew has to be travel from, let's say, from one station to other station to operate a different flight from points B to C. So all this will be a part of crew pairing. So all this, you can see some of the times when you travel, you will see some of the people, crew will be also traveling. So you can see that it could be something that they are relocating to their own base, or second thing, mostly they are going to a second place where they want to operate another flight. So all these are crew pairing activities. And then we should think about the disruption management. Let's say, on our day of operation, if something happens, some event happened, so the entire schedule gets disrupted. Let's say all this schedules are set and one aircraft on a technical issues could not fly, that route will get affected. Route will get disrupted. So all the 200 passengers who are sitting, who are about to fly, will get a notification just 40 minutes or 1 hour back saying that the aircraft has some technical issues, we cannot fly, or the aircraft has been cancelled. So to avoid this, you should have some kind of proactive disruption methodologies, so that if something happens, what is my recovery plan? So I will plan it. If something happens to the flight, I will swap it to this aircraft, I will have this aircraft, this route I will postpone. So all this planning activities will happen at the plane. This has to be planned. So that's how your proactive disruption management comes. So on the day of operations, it's about firefighting. Simple. So the main objective is we need to fly on time. We need to be on time. We need to achieve on-time performance on the topmost. So we should be winner on on-time performance. That is what it looks like. So there are a lot of operational decisions which you have to take on a day-to-day basis. There will be a lot of aircraft swaps from, we can move from, there will be already a tail assigned which we have on a previous thing, but at the day, there could be some unscheduled MRO events or some other issues, you will immediately swap the aircraft. And the most important factor is the turnaround execution. Turnaround, let's say you have 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes is a fixed turnaround time. If you fix it, you have to turn around the aircraft within 35 minutes on that station. That is what, and it happens through a very, very detailed, we will see that how it happens actually. It happens through a very detailed, predetermined time standards. And finally, if something disruption happens, you need to make these operational decisions to come back to the previous, to the normal. So I'll talk about some of the, in this previous slide, I have spoken about it's a mixture about operational and strategical element, profit maximization versus your, both things are there. So I'll go in detail about something about profit maximization, how it is being done in airline industry. So as we already discussed, what we produce is feed. So I should put the revenue levers, if I'm factoring in what are my revenue streams or revenue levers, what I have. First thing is my capacity. So the capacity, when we talk about is a seat, what we produce is available seat kilometer, what we produce. So that is the first impact factor. The more you produce, the more you can sell, and that's the place first to get the first revenue. So we need to enhance it. It doesn't mean that if no one produces always very higher revenue, but it has to be sold. So there are different areas which you look at. The revenue has to be there. That is what the passenger yield. So the moment you produce it, it has to be sold at a better price so that you have a better passenger yield. That is the second impact factor. And third thing what I look at is the load factor. Let's say you have 100 seats in a flight and the 85% is an occupied seat. So that your load factor is 85%. So that 15% what we have, the 15 seat what we have, if it's not filled up, it's actually a perishable, because airline seats, the moment the aircraft puts off, we cannot sell that seat again. So that is a perishable nature of inventory. So your revenue management has to be very optimal to get the seats about, if you get about 100% to 99% occupancy. So there are a lot of forecasting techniques which is there to forecast this kind of capacity and demand patterns and allocate the seat accordingly. And there is a different passenger demands, capacity, the fare fixation. There are a lot of things on pricing also. And the fourth thing is your ancillary revenue. So what we get for seat comfort, if you're paying additional, is ancillary revenue. The extra baggage is an ancillary revenue. And the meals what you buy on board is an ancillary revenue. So there are other services what we pay. And the final thing is cargo. Cargo is something like that aircraft. One part is, there's a passenger sitting. Another side that there is cargo which has been loaded. It's an area which is a belly space. So this, let's say there are some areas which is already the vacant space. The vacant volume what we have has to be sold. That is how the volume what we have has to be sold, and that we can use as cargo revenue. So that is measured in ton kilometer, and revenue from the passenger is revenue passenger available kilometer. So there are different metrics to measure that. So and I like put it to a different strategy to operation point of view. When we put all this in this like in a, as we said, in a different planning horizons. So demand forecasting, it comes in the strategic element. And second thing is fleet assignment, crew scheduling, runway scheduling, aircraft routing. All this come in a planning activity. And finally, in the day of operation, this irregular operations what happens, or you can say the disruption what happens comes in the operational element. So all this is how it is shift from the strategic to operational. Yeah. Okay. So I'll talk about this demand forecasting a bit now. So when we talk about demand forecasting, the first thing is, as I said, there is a GDP which is directly affecting. So we should have a macro picture of how this future demand travel will be. How my GDP is going up, how is my demand pattern coming up, how people are traveling, how often they are traveling, what is my per capita income, and all those will come in the macroeconomic factors. So this will have its own effect on airline travel as well. So first thing is I will identify what is my GDP, how this population are distributed, and how is this pattern of people traveling. People, the population, different clusters, how this interaction between this cluster, how often this different cities are coming from different cities. So all this has to be put together to find out a macro picture. So second thing is I could take a national level picture, and second thing is I should take a regional level picture of which route is doing good. Metro to metro, let's say Chennai, Bangalore is doing good, Chennai, Delhi is doing good, Mumbai, Delhi is doing good. That you can say is tier 1 cities. Second thing is you can say is Chennai to Madurai. You can say it's a tier 2 operation. You can big city to a small town, mid-sized town, and from there again you are operating to a Tuticorin. It's again a small town. So it's again a tier 3. So you have an airport there. So you start put your route in such a way that and you should find out where the demand is, which you can, though you are taking in a bigger picture, this is a total volume I will have, but you should identify what is at the regional level, at the route level, how it will be tackled. So it starts from something like that. It's from a top-down approach, you will find out what's the total thing, and from a bottom-up approach, you will find out how it is distributed and allocated. So there are two areas which you look at. One is passenger demand and how this passenger travel pattern is allocated in different areas. So having said that, forecasting is a very key tool for this decision making. So this is a place where we should clearly understand what is my capacity I need and how much I need to produce. Otherwise, it will go up on an over capacity and you will continuously producing these perishable sheets, and finally you will end up in the whole industry will end up in over capacity issues. So and further, again I spoken about it. It's about the fleet planning. It's about total market demand is understood. Then we need to develop what is the total available fleet kilometer needed for that particular flight, and what is the expected demand for that flight. That is what we have to understand. And the moment we got the demand, so we can understand what could be the revenue what we get from that fleet. So then we'll have a lease decisions. Based on this, I need to identify whether I am going to put money to buy their own aircraft or going to lease the aircraft. So there will be a different financing issues which comes in. So mostly people will go for low-cost carriers will go for leasing option because it comes in the operational expenditure, not on a capital expenditure. So all this will be there, and this will have this decisions. No, will have this particular financing decision of this airplanes will have a very impact on this financial performance decision on this impact on this financial performance. You can say so. So this particular evaluation process either can make or break the airline, because this should be very clear in this kind of decision. Which aircraft I am going to buy, which even if I go back to the history of Kingfisher, when we looked at Kingfisher had some of the problems. Yes, there's a debit burden airline and they shut down. That's a different story. But there will be different factors to it. One of the factors I could see is they had a different problem in their aircraft, but they had an engine what they operate. So that has given long groundings, and there are different issues. So which is again, this is one of the contributors to their debit burden, and they have to manage with it. And second thing is the 737, the 787 is the aircraft which we had recently. So the 737 MAX. There are two aircraft which has been on accident, and all the entire whole fleet has been grounded. And unfortunately, SpiceJet is one of the Indian carrier who already had about 15 to 20 aircraft, I think 12 or 13 aircraft which they operate. So the entire fleet has to be grounded. So because of this particular one issue on that airplane. So this has, let's say, on a total operating revenue, you are having impact of 12%. Then what is your revenue? What is the impact will be so much, right? And what is the profit you get? So this is how. So it can make or break an airline. So I should put it up this way: the flight schedule, though there are issues, the flight schedule what we operate is a central element of this planning process. So, and it is something that we should be aiming to deploy it in such a way that optimum use of these resources are there, and you should meet the market demands, and you should maximize the profit. So the plan should be such a way that this is something called as flight schedule optimization. Okay, so I should put this particular flight schedule optimization into 4 different areas. So I could say as service planning in one area, and schedule generation, then resource allocation, and schedule execution. This four elements has to be working in tandem so that then we get the maximum. Our entire network is optimized, and we get a better outcome out of it. So the goal is here is we should optimally allocate all the available resources, aircraft, crew slots, ground equipments, maintenance equipment, and all other things, and according to our business models. So that should be the core, the theme for this particular scheduling, development of the scheduling and deployment. And when we're making this decision-making criteria, so we should understand, let's say you have a demand, and you have to operate this. You have to, there are different steps you have to look at. So before you are operating this aircraft, you have this. So first thing I would say is clearly understand which airport you are going to operate. So that is one of the places which at regional level where I'm going to operate. Second thing is how often my flight should be, or you can say is the frequency of flight. Let's say in a route I should transport once, or I should completely put my 4, 5 or couple of number of schedules I have to add upon, and I should capture the complete market. So that, because when the moment you go and operate on a different route, let's say Chennai, Mumbai, or Chennai, Bangalore, there will be different players comes in. AirAsia operates, India operates, Air India operates. So there are different competitors. The national level demand or the new route level demand has to be split among these different competitors. So some people may look at, no, this is my optimum level of operation I should have, this is my demand, this is what maximum I should. Some people think like, no, I will go aggressively on that route, I will put all my resources there, I will make sure that competitor is no more there. So all this are different strategy which they look at a route level. And third, the main thing is departure and arrival times. So business passengers look at the early morning departure and late night arrival. So and they want to return back and all. So all these are and business travelers will sometimes they go one day before, or if you are visiting your friends and family, you'll take the late night flight. After that, to your Friday evening work, you'll go back to your hometown. You'll visit your friends, and then again Monday morning you'll come back. So these are different travel patterns which you can see based on the purchasing behavior or different customer segments. And what aircraft should be selected and which leg you are going to operate is what something major area which we'll have to look at over a period of time. And which crew should be operating and which leg should be operating that crew, and all those are different kind of roster management you can say. So putting all this decision making into long term, short term, and day of operation perspective. So long term, you should publish a timetable for getting a, so that you can get you. So you publish a timetable. You are selling your inventory for your flight, then or for bookings and all. Then you assign the fleets, then the crew pairing will happen, crew rostering. At least the crew rostering will go about 22, 30 days or 1 month, 2 months time in advance, so that they know, every crew will know how much what is the time duration they have to operate, what flight they have to operate. It should be prepared. So then the tail assignment and the roster management. Well, you already have a crew rostering and all things which is prepared, and nearby that you have to manage some kind of changes will have to be there. So the roster management will be there. And finally, if something happens on the day of decision making, operational decision making, right from the timetable to the disruption management, it's scattered about. And we've spoken about this micro level factors and macro level factors, which is again putting the impact on how we are predicting our travel requirement, because unsold seats is a lost opportunity for an airline. So it's a part of revenue management function. So I'll briefly talk about what actually this revenue management is. This revenue management is basically, let's say you have airplane of 200 seats, the same product, you can sell it for a different price. So different price, different passenger at different customer at different timing, you can sell it to a different price. Let's say we putting a demand and price. So this is how it goes up. You have different fare classes here. So there will be a
sorry for the interruption, sir.
At this price, the demand of this particular, maybe this is about this area which falls under this area will be demand under this class or this fare, and this fare structure will have a demand of this. And so this is how we can, the demand over a period of the price goes up, the demand will be actually be Yeah, please.
Sir, voice is breaking.
You want to say something?
Voice breaking.
Okay. So, I hope I'm audible now. I don't have
Yes,
the
sir,
audio.
it's fine now.
Clear?
It's fine now, sir.
Is it clear now?
Yes, fine. Fine, sir. Now it is loud and clear.
Yeah, okay. So when we talk about this revenue management, different freight classes, the same product which is being offered to the, okay. The same product, or we can say variable product also. So as I said, there are different freight classes based on their willingness to pay, and they will have their which airline can monetize it. This is about the revenue management, and it is not as simple as that. There should be a very good forecasting techniques to understand how and who is the person who is having a high potential to pay, and how we are monetizing it. And all things are different things. These are different scenarios which there is a different analysis team which works on an airline to get the monetize opportunities. So as I said, there are different forecasting techniques. Right from we have some historic revenue data or historic booking data, and we have actual booking details which you have, and there are no-show details. Let's say you want have 100 seats which is allocated, and there are 100 bookings already there, and some of the person may not turn out to the flight. The last minute, for some reason, they don't cancel, they don't turn up, they don't turn up. It goes as a no-show. So all this data will be there, and this all has their own impact on how we are forecasting it. So one is about total forecasting model for our passenger demand, and then we look at an optimization models, and this no-show details are used to have an overbooking model, how much overbooking I should go, so that in the last minute, if some of the people are not coming in, there is a lost revenue opportunity, right? So that opportunity, I want to monetize that. If I'm optimating, if I'm looking at these scenarios, I can sell some higher seats, let's say 180 or 190, 200 is a higher capacity. I can sell about some of the 10 seats higher than my capacity, so that I know that there will be about 10 no-shows. So all this will have a good impact on how and there will be we can set our recommended booking limits and all. So this is how the complete revenue forecasting techniques will come in, and because there are different, the market size is different, there are the different fare paying, the willingness to pay is totally different. And so in totality, this revenue management is something that we have to find out the total revenue what we can get monetized from that. It can be a cargo revenue, or it can be ancillary revenue, or it can be from the seats booking. So we'll have to look at the total revenue. So when I talk about ancillary revenue, so in the last 10 years, you can see that there is a lot of growth in this ancillary revenue after this low-cost carriers coming in and unbundling this fare and this products what they're offering. So people used to buy meals on board, then other things. So I think this happened from the last 2008 time, from the last financial crisis onwards. This has had a different impact. So this model itself is different, the low-cost model. So they will unbundle all those things. They will have a different price. It's a kind of pricing. So they have different product strategies. They have different pricing mechanisms, and they have different promotions, and based on their clustering and the target customers and all, they'll do it. So, and basically this ancillary revenue is the seats, the extra things what you sell on board. You can say for example, the meals which you sell on board, the merchandise what you sell on board, and extra legroom, like extra service comfort what you are buying from them. So all these are their ancillary revenue in terms. So the challenge here is this merchandise what we're selling on board should be unique. It is not that if you have the same product in the market, you will not like to buy on board. You should have some kind of unique product in on board so that you will be likely, you will be willing to, because the only market or the market size available for an airline to sell the product is only when they are on flight. Let's say 1 hour flight, that 1 hour flight and 200 passengers, what we have is, the market size is 200 passengers and market time what we have is 1 hour. So you have some product to be sold. So you should have some kind of unique, appealing product so that people will be, like you can say, it's an innovative product. So people will like to buy. So different kind of, there's a lot of things which goes into having a better ancillary revenue. So this is the contribution towards it. So airlines are looking at different innovative ideas to bring different products on board. So, and yeah, I think this was covered. And the cargo revenue. So as I said, the belly space what we have. So since if it's something about the perishable space, what did we have? If it doesn't, before the flight, if you offer for, if you can monetize that, so and that capacity can be utilized. And second thing is, again, there's a very good overall demand and supply. So what is the demand, the cargo demand what we have, and what is the willingness to pay the price that we are willing to pay for this particular thing? Will have a very good impact on this cargo revenue. So this is about totally about the revenue streams what we look at. So that is about a maximization or the profit maximization levers. I look at some of the operational performance levers. So I know it's already 12 o'clock. I may take another 10 minutes time, 10 to 12 minutes time to close another operational performance time. I hope it is okay with you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when we look at this operational performance, I would put it in the 4 different pillars. So one is the leadership style in the organization, and second, corporate structure, or you can say the organization design, and third thing is the resource what is available to the organization, and the most important pillar is the organization culture. So this organization culture play a very important role. The moment maybe when we look at from an other industry to another industry, it looks like a different, but the moment you go to an organization and see, different organizations have a different culture, the working culture. This culture has a very important role in getting their this business objectives or operational objectives. So I don't want to talk about this leadership styles because there are different leadership styles we can talk about it, but in totality it is I'll talk about another operational elements except leadership styles and all. So first I'll talk about organization design. So you cannot, as I said, there are 2 different models which we have, low cost carrier and a full service carrier. So you cannot replicate the same organization in what a full service carrier has to a low cost carrier. Let's say Jet Airways or Kingfisher or Air India is a full service carrier and they have an organization and you can say hierarchies and different kind of setups. You cannot replicate the same thing. Our objective is to fly, but it doesn't mean that you have to replicate the same thing into the low cost carrier, because you need to bring a cost advantage in a low cost carrier. So you should design your organization based on your strategic intentions. So this 2 things differs for LCC and full FSC carriers. And this should be, this strategic intention or this structure should be aligned to your this processes, people and reward system should be aligned to your organization goals on a top. So that, and the main thing is why this has to be aligned is then only it is not that the process has to be aligned to reach your objectives or your organizational vision or goals. This has to be there. If it's not there, people will start working on different silos and you can never control it. So that is one of the area which I think we will have to look at. This plays a major role on. We can talk about it in organizational design, how different organizations are designed and how the culture of organization are designed based on their vision and strategy of these things, and how it has been monitored. What is the role of a culture department in culture? There is a department called as culture, organization culture. A role of this department in setting up all those organization culture, meeting these organization objectives, and organization designs, meeting these organization objectives. So I put some of the building blocks of operational elements. So we are spoken about revenue management as a strategy point of view, but again we are to talk about something about timetable development and some of the other things in an operational point of view, or overbooking limit, having a booking limit at different, stopping a seat, accepting a booking, not accepting a booking. All this comes in a tactical point of view. Let's say if your 10 person is looking to book a ticket, and accepting a ticket is based on the revenue management system and how what passenger is going to book and how much he is willing to pay. All this will come in because you'll have to maximize the total revenue of the business, right? So that comes to the tactical decisions. And when it comes to the crew, there is a manpower planning, crew pairings and crew rostering issues, which comes in the operational element. Again, when it talks about fleet assignment, we already had the fleet selection and we already have something. Now the fleet has to be assigned to the particular route and the particular tail has to be assigned. So this is how one is about aircraft assignment, which aircraft will operate. Second thing is which model will operate and which aircraft will operate based on their registration number. So this is about the fleet assignment. And finally, there should be a mechanism to track the moment the aircraft, all these operations, aircraft coming in, going out, flying. So all these operation elements has to be tracked through some mechanisms. And there is some kind of operational navigational data requirement because there should be a navigation map for flying from one destination to other destination. There is a navigation map available. So this is again, and that is navigation map is again updated in a periodic manner. So that nav data has to be updated, distributed. It's the latest navigation database has to be available on board for the operation. All these elements will come in that area. So putting up the maintenance, there is a maintenance planning of long-term planning we discussed, and there should be a short-term and day-to-day planning activities. So you can say as an unscheduled MR activities, and there is other things in airport. And when you look at airport planning, they should look at what is the capacity they are going to operate and what is the shift planning, shift assignment, and all this kind of thing, ground tracking things and all. So we already spoken about market evaluation, other things in profit maximization side. On the strategy side, I think now we will talk about some of the elements of, let's say, turnaround management, IROPS management, customer experience, and operations and operational elements in a brief, and then we'll close the session. So that will give a fair understanding about how it has been linked to how the strategy is linked to the operations. So when we talk about assistance, there should be some kind of mechanism you should track your day-to-day activities. So in an airline, there is something called as the operational control center. So this is one of the thing which entity which sits in that like a kind of an area or a kind of team which looks into an operations, either it is an airport operations or en route operations, or you can take airport outstation operations and all those things, or within the ground or on even the ground when you are just the turnaround things, the process are happening. So all this will be monitored by an OCC, and some of the airlines will, what happens, they will divide these two things. What happens on air will be going to an OCC, and what happens on the ground, let's say in a hub, Chennai, if it's a hub. So what happens, there are 4 or 5 aircrafts coming at the same time. So that hub needs to be managed. So they will put hub control center. So you can have a different hub control center, or you can have one hub control center which will entirely connect to the all stations and all. So and there is one more element which you'll have to put in is maintenance control center. So which actually monitors this. So from an engineering point of view, it monitors the aircraft maintenance and how the routing is happening, and from different locations how it has been certified, because every aircraft has to be certified before it's flight. There's a certifying person who certifies it it is safe to fly. So this all elements. So we can put it all together. Some of the people say it's an integrated operational control center. So some people say the airline operational control center. There are different terminologies they use it based on. In totality, the concept is similar. You can say you need to control the hub, you need to control the maintenance, you need to control the total operations. So when we talk about this airline operation control center, the only job is to monitor the flight. So where it is coming, what are the communications they have the crew on, briefing to the crews, so and the movement controls, then crew management services, then finally flight operation services, something, and the main thing is weight and balance. Because every flight is having, it has to be in an equilibrium condition technically if you talk about. So this weight has to be balanced. This CG, center of gravity of this aircraft has to be managed in place. So there is this, because we are putting a lot of passengers, there are different people who are different weights of different people are sitting on a cabin, and different loading with different densities at different places. So it will all have an effect to the center of gravity of this airplane. So what happens, this center of gravity, or you can say the moment to the center of gravity, has to be managed technically if you talk about it. So there should be a weight and management certification. Again, this AOCC will all coordinate it, but there are different people who actually certify this, and some of the airlines captain actually certifies it. There are calculations to it. And there should be a flight tracking mechanisms, and yes, maintenance control and irregular operations, you can say is IROPS. So we'll look about it. So all these are a part of AOCC, and they should, to control this, to have this functions, they should have a very good decision support system. That is one of the most important things, because the moment a disruption happens, you need to have all the information available in front of you so that you can take a right decision to allow to reallocate a flight, or you can reallocate a passenger to some other flight, reroute or something. All of this has to be done. So the main thing is recovery. It's also the monitoring. So monitoring is something like a different aircraft flies on different locations. You'll have to monitor which aircraft is flying where, when is its estimated arrival time, where at what altitude it is flying now, and is there a different communication between crew and us, is there a specific needs, and all this will come into this monitoring systems. And the moment you land on some of the one of the station, you will have, as I said, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes is your predetermined time to turn around that aircraft from that station. The moment you land, all these activities, the turnaround has to be done within the time. If you look at it, it is a complex scenario actually. The moment the aircraft lands there are a lot of activities that has to be done, right from the declaring of passenger. I try to put that in a Gantt chart and I try to visualize this. This is the turnaround activity on the left side. What we see the aircraft, and what we see here is there is a ground power unit which is connected. There is a tow bar which is connected. There is a passenger service board. I think the pushback the operator. This is the passenger has been transported. So from the terminal to this one. So and there are other loading vehicles, and there are other vehicles which comes to pick. Okay, the fueling vehicle is there, and we have other loading operators which take the entire car. This loading, the baggage is what comes up from this, and they'll have to take it to the terminal. And there will be unit load devices which is kept, and there will be again the rear and forward cargo doors will be there, and there will be two different vehicles. And there is a catering vehicle, and there is a wastewater, and there is again a potable drinking water. So again, the potable drinking water what you have in aircraft is also ISO standard, Indian WHO and Indian standards. So there are different things which has to be done within that given time, within 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 40 minutes time. This has to be done. So all these activities has to be happen in a sequential or logical manner. Or so when you put it in a Gantt chart, there are some activities which can be done in a parallel. There could be part out of it, and we can delay. This is a predetermined time standard for an aircraft turnaround. So this has to be done because each second matters here. So this turnaround is something which in every airline is, because this, as I said, the moment utilization, if you don't have the utilization on a long term will get affected. So one of the most important elements are day-to-day operations. So, and this aircraft turnaround management is not easy, because all this process and task has to work together to achieve this. And maintaining OTP is simply an uphill battle. It's not at all easy. And if you say that some of the airlines say that I am in OTP, it means that they have done a considerable amount of job to get that on-time performance. Because this on-time performance not only impacted by there are a lot of impacts which comes to the OTP. I will see that how it impacts. When we look at it, we need to have punctual aircraft in the sense on time. Passenger like to have on-time aircraft on time. So this is something which every airline is looking at. If it gets disrupted, how will we recover that scenario? So at a given point of time, you will have a couple of recovery scenarios. Let's say the problem happens. It could be a reason of flight diversion. It could be a reason or en route from there's a traffic delay which is coming from en route, or that could be a weather diversions. If you wanted to fly some destination, because of the destination airport is having some kind of weather issues, you are flying to an alternate, and then en route aircraft malfunction, and then you'll have to divert. So it will all have an impact on this aircraft arrival to the destination. So this will have further, again, if there is some delay on crew management or loading delays or passenger delay on that particular station, again it will add up on. So this cascading effect will go up to the next subsequent flight. So he will go to the next station, from there the same thing will. So to overall period of time to cope up, it's a more critical aspect actually. So then that will be add upon the departure delay. Again, it can say those crewers come regular departure stations. So and the weather condition in the departure station, all this will add upon to the cascading effect of the schedules or the timetables what we have. So this is how airlines, the efficiency of an airline comes up, how fast they are recovering it. So when normally when any time of, and let's say and the kind of events happen, they'll have a lot of decision scenarios. So days of recovery, they'll have to go with the best recovery scenarios, or because they'll have to look at the profit on one side, customer experience on the other side. So all this has to be put together, and they'll have to take the right decisions so that which flight needs to be cancelled, which flight needs to be operated, what flight needs to be delayed, which passenger has to be refunded. So all this will work upon and play, because this all things are again contributing to your profit and your brand values. This is how, and this is the most important factor of an OCC. This decision, and they should have, that's the reason they should have a very good decision support system to take these quick decisions. So the efficiency, as I said, is how fast you are recovering. There is a disruption. Disruption is common, something can happen, but how fast you are recovering back to the normal operations shows your resiliency. So this is something which every airline has to be measuring it, and is measuring it, and that shows their operational efficiency. So if we look at what actually looks at an improved airline performance, you can say you should have a very good connected aircraft. What connections what they have in ground, we should have in aircraft also. But unfortunately, in India, we don't have a connected aircraft. So maybe coming days, maybe in another 2-3 years time or 1 year time also, we should have some Wi-Fi on board of kind of things. So it will happen. Because there are some regulatory issues in India also. So and then operations, very good operations, and you could have a very good in-flight and ground and customer services. This will give a very good airline performance. So this is this is the area on service delivery. Second thing is flight operations. This will have a very good impact on operational efficiency. Flight optimization, because you are flying from one place to another place, it has to go through the different phases: takeoff, cruise, the en route, landing there. So there is a flight profile for all those things. So if you can optimize this flight profile, and this delay what happens on this en route, you can have a better, because fuel is one of the major, about 40%, 30 to 40% is the variable cost what we have in it's a fuel cost. So you can saving 5 minutes to 10 minutes on a flight is a huge savings when we add up onto the total fleet to over a year. So, and disruption management, the cost of delay. So cost of delay is again in there are tangible way of calculation. There are intangible elements which, so brand value, which again you cannot calculate it here. So the moment something happens, disruption happens, it will affect the way public perceive the airline. So there are different things. These are cost of, so this will have an important impact on this airline performance. And you should have a very good technology which is connected. So what technology you are using should be the technology what I am operating. So that should be there. So and management. I read the horizontal, very vertical and horizontal organization structure, the organization design, and the asset monitoring and tracking and distribution. Yes, the distribution, how we are distributing it. And all this will have an impact. This is the factors based on that the impact to the revenue. This is the I try to put it up. So and then there are different elements which you look at the KPIs, or you can say effectiveness of this operational elements. One is impact on passenger loyalty and sentiment. If there is a delay which is happening, and that will affect the passenger loyalty and sentiment. So that is a major impact factor. The main base is to the customers. So that is one element. Second thing is the time to bring the operation back to the plan, back to the track, and total operational cost of the disruptions. That is the cost of delays and disruptions. And then impact on passenger connections and the revenue what we lose out of it. And there are other factors which you can see. So all in totality, this has to be monitored based on the impact. This effectiveness has to be monitored based on the impact what we have on our total revenue and our total business operations. So that is how the objective has to be fixed. So again, in terms of operational efficiency, there are a lot of things we can say: aircraft utilizations, reduce aircraft weights. As at the moment weight goes up, there is a problem of this goes up. Your cost, total cost goes up. So there are different things, and turnaround times and all things, so which we are already seen in totality. So I'll come to the customer experience. So in totality, the customer experience has to be managed so that we'll have a loyal customers and all. So this is the current scenario. The main thing that we'll have to focus, that we airlines are focusing, is the customer experience. So that is one of the surveillance strategy for this current thing, and how they are tracking this customer loyalty is through some of the couple of tools which I am going to show in the next slide. There is something called as Net Promoter Score. So it's, let's say, it's basically rated from, there are customer touch points. So what happens is this airline representatives or this airline management system will take feedback from different touch points, how the passenger feels about it. So that's been calculated based on, there are 3 categories which we calculate: detractors, promoters, and passives. So one of the area is that it's a calculation basically the net promoter score is the percentage from the promoters minus detractors. So the score goes up, your net promoter NPS score is good. So this is the tool which this shows that in marketing terms it says the word of the mouth. So it's also a single question. What they ask is how likely you would recommend this airline, this company to a different person or to your friend or family. So if you are likely to recommend to a friend or family, you have been put as a promoter. So it means that you are doing word of the mouth. So other person will like to have, fly on this airline. So, and this is a promoter's part. And passive part is some people who may not recommend, they are neither they don't even talk negative about an airline, they don't talk positive about an airline. So they are passive, they don't harm your airline as much. So, and detractors. So they will actually, something happens to you, they will go and talk about different people about their opinion about this airline, which actually the word of the mouth, the negative word of the mouth will travel faster than the positive word of the mouth. So it will again, it will affect the passenger sentiment about this airline, and which indirectly impact the revenue of this one. So this is one of the loyalty tool which this one, and this NPS have a close correlation with the company's growth and this one. And the main thing is how safe you are to fly. So if you see there's a marking called as IATA. If you see sometime something about IATA marking, it means that it has been safety rated airline. It has been audited by the audit agencies, and it is safe to fly. So, or you can say statistically it is safe to fly. So there are different regulatory authorities which does the audit. There are this kind of audit agencies comes and audit. So there is an effect of insurance premium towards the safety of this airline, because aircraft safety has to be linked to your insurance premium. So for that reason, this airline always try to keep to be safe on this flight, and they keep all safety margins always on a higher level, because it's a safety sensitive and it is a safety critical industry. So, and most often what executives look at is how safe we are, how possibly safe we can be, and what we can afford. So all this comes into place, and all the airlines actually met that regulatory objective. Then the moment they meet the regulatory objectives, it means that they are on the safety standards are met. And the final thing is about catering operations. This catering operation is having a huge impact, because this is one of the major area where passenger revenues comes in. So what happens is this airline has to, it's a complex structure. If you can say 70% of this thing is logistics and 30% is only cooking. Reason being, the airline has to distribute on that 1 hour time, and there are a lot of other things happen. There's a distributor who takes it, there's a person who cooks it, or some of the hotel management company who cooks it. Then they will distribute it through some of the agencies, or they take it to logistics, then they put it on a board. There has to be kept on a oven, it has to be reheated, it should be a cold storage, hot storage, and there are different things, and there are different kind of foods which comes in. Either it is a food suppliers, or it can be some of the other non-food like kind of other suppliers which comes in. So all this is a huge network of catering operations. So airline has to design this onboard service. Reason being, there are a lot of impacts which comes in this catering operations because of this onboard service. Or there are impact factors if we look at is time and length of the flight. That is one point. So the more the time, you will have more time to deliver the food, and you can more time to consume the food. And second thing is the price of the food and the seat class, because seat class depends based on the customer. They different premium economy, you can say first class or economy seat. Based on that, they have their buying capacity. So, and the main thing is order of the food. So the order should be such a way that it should penetrate the cabin everywhere, and so that people will be tempted to buy it. So that should be there. And there's a challenge which you have is it should be rethermalized, it should be reheated or something like that. So the moment what happens is the normal food, when it is reheated, there will be a change in the taste, smell, and other orders. So which is a challenge for a catering organizations to have this quality food on board. So sometimes you also feel that sometimes on-board food is not that great. Some of the people may see that. There are reasons why this. Because when we are flying on board, we are flying at some of the certain altitude, and as it is flying with certain low pressure areas. So what we and the land what we have is about 14.7 pounds per square inch. Is what the or 1 bar is what the pressure what we have on ground. So when we go over climb up above 8,000 feet, if the pressure reduces, and the cabin maintains the pressure of 10 psi, 10 to 11 psi, which is about 8,000 feet altitude. That is a benchmark what they have. So beyond which, that's a comfortable level and passenger can handle or human body can handle. So what happens is the moment their humidity get reduced and this pressure get different pressure will be there. Because of this, the taste bud will have this will have an effect on smell and taste. Sometimes you will not get so the challenge, sometimes you will not get a right smell and the right taste in the food. Sometimes you will feel that you will feel like the salt is not there. You will not feel the taste as well. So this is a challenge for a catering operations to have a right food, a right time on board on this particular challenge scenarios. I think this if catering students, some of you are attending this webinar, you should look at these areas and should think that how you can better deliver good better food on this particular this kind of different environments, and what is the best food that can be sold on board. All this can be researched upon. I can find out. So there are, as we said, there are different categories of cost levers. So it can be available seat kilometers, load factors, and yield management. Then the cost you can see is direct operating cost and indirect operating. So there are different KPIs which we have it. So in totality, in a D-Day, all these elements what we discussed, right from the commercial strategy to the technological strategy and the hub and the OCC models and all the fleet strategy and all these elements and their sub-elements has to work together to get your day on operations, your flight, a safe flight on board, on the right place, from the right place to the right time. So all this, so with the better passenger experience. Because the problem here is if one dissatisfied passenger will tell about 9 people about their dissatisfaction. But if you are happy, they will not say. But that is how the customer sometimes behaves. So that's a customer behavior which so we'll have to work on based on that. That on the day of operation, all this process, people, function, technologies should work together with a high degree of integration to meet this challenge of on-time flights and better customer experience. So with this, I can say that I can come to the conclusion saying that so when a flight is on time and the cabin service is good and you have and the luggage arrives on time to the ramp or to the arrival hall on time, you will not even notice it. And people will be happy and they'll be taking, and this is how it is supposed to be, and they don't even notice it. But if something happens, if there is a delay and on time is okay, but if it's a pattern, but there is an airline has to relook into either it can be an incremental improvement problem or it can be a complete transformation about the business operations. So I would like to conclude my my session of webinar, and I can go for a question and answer session if you have something. So I have put my contact details here if you can note down. And if there are some questions, I will stop my screen here, sharing my screen here. If you can have some of the questions, you can put on the chat box. Then I'll answer for this queries. So yeah, so is there a question?
Vinod. Hello.
Yeah.
Vinod, am I audible?
Yeah, please. Yes, please.
There are some of the questions which were raised by the participants, so that I can moderate the question.
Yeah.
Do you please the explanation to the maximum?
Yeah, please. I'm okay with it.
A question from Ms. Ratna, woman. She has asked about what will be the future of aviation industry in India. First question. Both the questions are most probably common. One is about the aviation industry's future in India as well. In this pandemic issues, what will be the future of aviation industry in international level?
Okay, so I will answer this question maybe in 2 different. One thing is India and how is going to be a world level, how it is going to be affected.
How it is going to be resumed?
Resumed, yeah, okay. So I think this first thing is, so I think in the last webinar also we discussed, the total capacity now we are down by 96, about 70 to 80% is the total capacity is down. That is one of the major element which we will, in terms of the capacity what we offered. And if you look at the last one month, there is a slight capacity recovery, and we were recovering it, but there are different scenarios we can look at. So how this disease is going to be controlled. So first element is, if this disease is coming back over a period of again and again, if this restriction is being continued, then there is a possible scenario that there will be fear in public, they may not like to travel, and there will be some problem that the passenger demand may not come back at the right time. So what happens is, we already have a capacity here, the existing capacity, the pre-crisis volume which you already have, the aircraft and all the things. So if the passenger demand does not come back on time, or this disease is not controlled through a vaccine or some kind of other measures, so this will have a very bad impact, and it will have a long-term impact in Indian aviation as well, and it will impact to the world level as well. It will have an impact. So now currently, the current scenario, if it's looking at, if everything goes fine, and so we should recover back in 6 to 7 months time. But again, if there is a problem, if again it is coming back over a period of time, it may prolong up to 2024 or 2023, because we may not, there is a historic projected rate, what actually we looked at, but we may come back to this one, but we may not go back to the historic projected rate if the same disease is prolonged. So that's how we have to look at it in this way. Am I going to attain the historic projected rate at next 5 years time, or because of this impact, I will be taking a different projected rate and a different. So that depends upon the intensity or the magnitude of this particular disease. Yeah, I think yeah.
I hope Ms. Ratna's question has been clarified. I hope so. Another question, Vinod. A question from Arun Kumar, first MBA.
Yeah.
I just read out the question. COVID-19 crisis likely to hit 29 lakh jobs in Indian aviation and its dependent sector, and information by IATA.
Yes. So because if you look at Indian aviation sector is about more than 4 lakhs direct employment and about 9 lakhs on a support in the value chain. So the total is a very, very, very big industry. But what happens is, with this 29 lakhs is what the total volume, because this is again further supporting the tourism industry. So this 29 lakhs will be about the total volume, how it's going to be hit. But it was a prediction by IATA maybe 2 months back. So this 29 lakhs. But there is a job reduction, there is a capacity reduction. But if you're coming back, there's a long-term impact, definitely. And I think we should probably come back in another 2-3 months time or 6 months time. But there is definitely an impact. But these numbers, I don't see, there was a projected impact, but I don't see that much impact will come up. But this will definitely come up if there is a problem persisting. If this problem is continuous, then there definitely is impact.
Thank you, Vinod. Another question from Afroz, first MBA. What will happen when all government airlines change to private? It will definitely affect our people. Cost will increase. What is the solution for this, sir?
Okay. What will happen if all government airlines converted to private? Correct. So we have only one government airline, I think, Air India. So that is also they are trying to convert to private. The only thing is, when it comes to an Air India, there is a bureaucracy issues and other issues which we can see at the management level. The decision-making capability and the metrics, the key performance indicators and metrics, what they use and what private airlines use is totally different. So if it is in private airs, one bad thing is we can say is we will not have a national carrier. So that is again, I should see as a different, because most of the countries have their own flag carriers and India does not have it. It is, in my opinion, I should say it should not be there. But it should be, I think it should be managed in a better way. Better management and better cost efficiency should be practiced within that company. And if it's privatized, and the problem here is the huge debit burden already they have. The private company comes and takes over. Who is willing to take all this debit burden what they have? And even somebody is approaching that to take it, they will not take airline as a whole. They will only take a part of that operations or some of the areas which they can manage it. So R&D is so huge. So the effect is that we will have a better market soon. The moment privatization comes up, there will be a good fair marketplace there. And government will not support some of the airline on one side. So that will be.
The next question is from Mohammed Asaruddin. What future measures can ACI suggest to fight this sort of pandemic conditions?
So when he says the ACA is Airport Council of India, and I don't know what he is referring to ACA.
I think so.
So Airport Council of India is, I think they can give some feedbacks on suggestions for improvement programs, but it's only a body. It's only a kind of forum kind of thing. So airports can same way what IATA does. They can do a study on that. They can take it up to the government. They can fight it out for this industry, or they can look at different scenarios of how this industry is changing and what needs to be done. They can give some recommendations. So what happens is when they go as a forum, then it will be effect will be more from the government side. So that is what I think ACA can suggest in these conditions.
Thank you. One last question, Vinod, from Anureka, faculty from our department. Will prices increases after lockdown? If so, will price minimization strategy help the industry to create more flying?
Okay, will there be a price increase after lockdown? So now I'll have to take this question in two different this one. First thing is, will flight there will be an increase in flight? Now I'll have to take so that you have a flight which is operating, and there should be and now because of this pandemic situation, there are a lot of safety standards which has been put up. There are hygienic issues or disinfection and other kind of issues which has been put up to come out of this kind of give a better safety flight, safe to passengers. So one point of time the cost is going up. That is because of the extra enhanced amplified safety issues. That cost has gone up. Now on the other side, we have to balance it. When we look at the balancing side, the cost of fuel has come down. But again, if you see the last week, the moment flights took off, the cost has gone up a bit. It was 32,500 per kiloliter. Now it has gone to 33,000 per kiloliter. So industry was feeling that okay, it will help you. It will help us in because of this reduced cost will reduce in variable cost, which will help a low fare. But unfortunately, that's gone up, which has to be maxed up. So now, and one more thing, an aircraft has something called as break-even capacity. An aircraft has to operate it with that minimum 70%, 70 to 65 to 70% of load to make this break-even load factor. We can say break-even load factor to make some revenues. So to putting all this now, currently demand has come down. Supply is there, 30% of the capacity is there, but still the demand has not come up. People still maybe there are some people who wanted to travel immediately because of this different mandates from different stations, like travel mandate, 14 days quarantine, 2 days quarantine, all those issues. People are, maybe there is a fear to travel and all. So different cities there. So what happens is, because of this balancing demand and supply and this fuel coming down, it will take some time to, there will be some kind of increase in what the average fare is looking at, because there is an increase in cost and there is a demand, reduced supply, reduced demand. So industry has to balance it or this scenario. But over a period of time, price minimization strategy, I have to put it a different way actually. Even if you look at cost reduction strategies in an airline or any industry, it will not come down at cost more than you can reduce 9 to 10%. But if you are increasing your revenue, you can increase your revenue by 30 to 40%. Correct. So this is how it looks like a cost reduction strategy and revenue increase strategy. But if you want to reduce the price, obviously you have to reduce your cost. But how much you can reduce? There is a fixed cost already and there is a variable cost. We can look at this kind of things where you can renegotiate. But which industry is already looking at it. But I think this has to be worked in a different level to understand this economics, and that is how the price can be fixed maybe over a period of time. But what we see currently may not be the right price. Maybe over a period of time it may change. I think I answered. It's a good question, but I think I answered your question.
It's a question which is purely based on a consumer point of view.
Yeah, the more flying comes up, more people comes up, definitely the demand is coming up, and the more demand, the capacity will be deployed. Yes, there will be an optimization comes at that point, and yes, the price will get stabilized. But reduced reduction, yes, cost minimization and all things, there will be chances because new technology is coming up. And this is a core thing of any of our business operations, right? Cost has to be reduced, and yeah.
Thank you, Vinod, for your patient answers. patient's answers for the questions which was arised.
So, okay, I think there is one more question. What is the latest technology used in aviation industries? So, I should say that ML is also used, AI is also used. There are chatbots which is talking to you. So, all this new next generation, fourth industrial revolution technologies have been used in airline industry. So, even for meal predictions, what meals will go up, or even ML is used there also. So, but mostly this ML, AI, and this kind of things does come in if you put the processors into three different areas: core process, managing process, and customer-facing process. Most of this technology has now affected the customer-facing process, and because customer-facing process, because the most important area which will have to satisfy customer, because there is a change in customer behavior, change in the way customer use the technology. India airline has to be adopted to that technology. This is the first area, and there are other things. And in management point of view, the decision support system has come up. So because of this, different elements, different data analytics and technologies which has come up in the current the last recent 5 years. So this has gone up. The decision support system has gone up, and this decision support system will definitely help your cost reduction about 5 to 6% or 10%, as you can say, if you are very optimal. So there are different. Yes, the new technology is helping out. There are a lot of technologies there available. But you don't see other the similar way of what retail industry is using into the aviation industry. Aviation industry is in all the different area. So yes, we are using it, but on its own scale. I think hope I answered that.
Thank you, Vinod.
So yeah.
Over to Tirumulan sir. Shall we go for vote of thanks?
Continue, sir.
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank the participants for their patience listens towards the session. It's already 1 hour 40 minutes. It's really a very good informative session from Mr. Wilfred Vinod about the aviation industry. It's quite a virtual industrial visit. I hope so. We have seen all the activities virtually that would be happening in a day-to-day aspect in airport. On behalf of Annai Group of Institutions, Department of MBA, and Team IQAC, I wholeheartedly thank Mr. Wilfred Vinod for sparing the time with us by giving a very quality session to the students as well the professors, assistant professors, and associate professors from various organizations. And I thank Tirumulan for moderating the session, and I thank my faculty. And I want to give a special thanks to the director AJ, Mr. Najimuddin, for introducing such a wonderful, versatile personality, Vinod, for having a very good session with our students as well. He has. We had a lot of discussion before planning this session actually. What we had a very good time with you, Vinod. Finally, I would like to thank the Department of MBA students as well as BBA and BHM for sparing your valuable time in concentrating this session. I hope you had learned a lot of information from Mr. Vinod. I think the video of the session will be shared in the WhatsApp group. Someone are requesting the PPT from Vinod. I will check with the moderator as well the resource person, and I will let you know the participant whether it can be shared or definitely you can receive the video session so that it will be helpful for you for a post-review process, right? Thank you one and all again for being patient and listening the session in a very enthusiastic manner. Thank you others for giving a welcome note, and I thank all my faculty members who had given their support for the past 1 week for framing this kind of webinar for the students. I hope that we will be coming up with some these kind of seminars for the students as well as the professors, and that will make them more live in their pandemic session, right? Thank you. With this, I end my note. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being patient. I said 10 minutes, but it has taken about, I think now the time is 12:42 with my this one. So I think I have given a very good session, but I think this time there was no issues on audio quality or something other than the small interruptions that happened. So I think hope everything is fine and this is useful for you. So I think you should learn more about aviation industry. It's an industry which is going to grow up. It's growing up and it's going to grow up. And there are issues and there are challenges, but definitely industry will come up and we will connect because comparatively there's a lot. Indian population is so huge and there are a lot of areas which aviation industry has to connect. And there are drones coming up and the industry will transform by next maybe 5 years time. So you can watch and see. So happy flights, safe flying. So flying is safe. I think I covered in the last session. So not to worry about flying. Because it is as safe as what you're having sitting in a hospital ICU. So So that's what the HEPA filter is what has been put on aircraft. So, okay, thank you so much for your time and patience. Thank you. And so I should thank Annai College of Arts and Science for giving this opportunity. It's a wonderful experience to talk to. Maybe I had taken a couple of presentations to corporate and all, but I think maybe two sessions which I come to the college and giving it. But it's a good, wonderful session. This good, different experience and different target audience. And thank you so much for the. And yeah, over to you, Dr. Durmulan. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.